Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today we will be solving Leetcode daily question 1200, which is minimum absolute difference. So we will be given an array of distinct integers and we need to find all pairs of elements with the minimum absolute difference. So let's not worry about this and let's try to take these conditions. So we will be returning a list of pairs in ascending order. So with respect to pairs like A comma B as an pair, and that should be A comma B from array only, and A should be less than B and B minus A. That means the absolute difference between the two pairs, the pair of elements should be minimum difference. So we'll take an example and try to solve it. But before that, just keep in mind that we'll be given distinct integers of array and we need to find the pairs such that the minimum absolute difference between the two elements is minimum. So let's go back and try to start with the example. So let's take this example. So we will be given this kind of array and we need to process something that apply these conditions and get the answer. So the condition is first we need to find the minimum absolute difference. In that, in that, so we need to get the pairs such that the absolute difference between them is equal to this guy, which is, let's suppose take this as D. So that this pair of elements absolute difference should be is equal to D. So this is the condition they have been asking and we need to find such pairs and we need to return in ascending order. So they have mentioned A comma B belongs to array and A should be less than B. So that is what they have been asking and we need to return such kind of pairs. So let's understand with the example. Okay, 4 2 4 2 1 3. So this is the example. So normally we need to find the absolute minimum absolute difference between any elements such that its difference will be minimum. So for that purpose, we can think of some logic where if I traverse traverse array multiple times, array uh, like from I to n minus 1, and for each element we need to uh, get the pair minimum, minimum absolute sum. So out of all these, we will take minimum absolute difference. So, but this might be like this, because if we want to implement this, we'll use this kind of I to n, and in that we'll use again one more loop, that is nested loop, that is also ij is equal to 0 to n, right? So this might take a lot of time for us. So we can think of some logic where how we can reduce this nested loop such that we will get the minimum absolute difference. Okay, so we have the flexibility that we can take any any elements as a pair in any order. The elements are not fixed, so we have the flexibility. So using that technique, that advantage, so we can think of something like, what if I will sort this? If I sort this, then the array become 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I need to get the minimum absolute difference between any pairs. Okay. So generically, if you can think of, if I if I sort this and get this array, and if I find the absolute difference between 1 and 2, so I'll get some answer. Then do I get minimum absolute difference if I find between 1 and 3, because 2 is already less than 3 and it is greater than 2. So if you get 1 as the absolute minimum difference between 1 and 2, and you will definitely get the maximum difference, because it is greater than 2. That means the absolute difference between these two guys will be more than these two guys. Okay, so keeping that in mind, in our mind, and we can think of this to sorting. Sort. So we have reduced that to sort. Like this will take big of n log n time. We have reduced that uh, nested loop. Okay, perfect. We have come, and in this we can find the minimum absolute difference. So what is the minimum absolute difference that I can get from this sorted array? So let's try to find. So I'll compare these two guys and I get the absolute difference. What is the absolute difference? It is 1. Now I'll move my pointer. Mm. Now I'll find between these two guys and my absolute difference will be 1. Now I will find between these two guys and my absolute difference will be 1. So in all the cases, I got 1. 1 as my absolute difference and 1 is my overall total minimum absolute difference. Okay, perfect. So this will make sense that we are finding the minimum absolute difference easily, and so we need to return something they are asking. So let's try to do that. So but before that, you are very clear with this, I think so. So let's move forward. Now I have sorted and I know minimum difference is equal to 1. So now we can think of something. So they have asked us to get the pairs. Let's try to write get the pairs whose absolute minimum difference is minimum. So whose absolute difference is minimum, they have asked us. So you can think of something where I know the absolute difference, minimum absolute difference in the array. So I have already sorted and I know what is the minimum difference that I can get the minimum absolute difference in the array. Okay. So if I want the pairs whose absolute difference uh, is minimum means you can easily link like if I can get the absolute difference in between the elements such that their absolute difference is equal to my d. Let's take it is as d. So if I can get elements whose absolute difference is equal to my d, so this will helps us to find the pairs, right? You can take any elements, and if you find the absolute difference between them, so the elements absolute difference should be is equal to this guy d. So if it is less than d, you can easily understand why it will not comes to d less than d, because we have already found out the uh, minimum absolute difference between those elements. If you can get less than means this guy would have stored that. This guy would have stored. So you can have two cases where it is equal to d or it is greater than d. Is equal to d or greater than d. Mhm. So we have two, you can have two cases where it is equal to d or greater than d. So that is clear for us. So let's move forward. Now let's take the array 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know the minimum absolute difference is equal to 2. Okay, perfect. So for this also, I can apply the same logic where I'm again doing the absolute difference only. So for that, let's take these two guys, 1 and 2. So what is the absolute difference between both of them? So it will be 1. Okay, perfect. Oh, oh sorry. This guy d is equal to 1, right? Okay, perfect. Let's move forward. Now I am comparing these two guys, 1 and 3. And what is the absolute difference between them? So it will be 2. Okay. So let's move forward and let's try to find 1 and 4. So what is the absolute difference between them? So it will be 3. Okay. So carefully, if we observe something where if I get minimum difference between these two guys, and it will it will have two cases where whether this difference is equal to d or it is greater than d. Perfect. So no matter what you will do, you will end up getting more difference, more absolute difference between these two guys. Or like you can think of whatever the elements after these two, you will get the more absolute difference for this guy one. Okay, no matter what, like this is the minimum element out of all this because we have already started. So keeping that point in our mind, let's try to complete the code. Okay. So keeping that point in our mind, so we have already sorted. So we can directly compare adjacent pairs, and if it comes out to be the pair where the absolute difference between them is equal to d. So in that case, we'll add that pair to our answer. So you don't have the flexibility like uh, you can, if you pick one element, you could not pick that element to another. So that is not there for this problem. You can pick an element any number of times, and you can have multiple pairs you can get out of it. So that should be satisfy this condition. Okay, let's move forward. So what is the minimum absolute difference between these two guys? So it will be 1. Okay. So let's compare. 1 is equal to D. So perfect. And I can have answer is equal to a 2D array. Let's. Wow. So I can add these two guys to my answer. So 1 comma 2 is one of them. And you have the point. You could not move to from this to from here to this here. So that is not a valid. Okay. So I can just move this guy. So I'll start here and I'll compare with these two guys. Okay. Move forward. So I will take these two guys and I'll find the minimum absolute difference between them. So what is the minimum absolute difference? So it will be 1. So it is equal to D. So I can add it to my answer. 2 comma 3. Now move forward. So I will stand here and I will compare with the adjacent element, which is 4. So what is the minimum absolute difference between these two guys? So it will be 1. Okay. So this is equal to D. So I can add this pair to my answer. So I don't have any elements left. So I can stop here. And this is the answer they have been asking for us to return. So this is how you need to understand this problem. And let's try to get write the pseudocode for this. So we'll be given a function with an array of elements. Okay. So we need to return a list. So for that purpose, I will take a list, which is a 2D list. Now, uh, in that array, you can have negative elements. So you don't worry about that negative elements. You can use the same approach to do that, and you will get the answer perfect. Okay, now I am just initializing a list of answers. So what is the first step that I need to do? So I need to sort them, sort the array. So after that, I need to get the minimum absolute difference. Minimum absolute difference. So you know how to do this. You can use a for loop and just I to n minus 1, and you can just compare adjacent and get this absolute of it, and minimum you can find. Okay, so that is easy for you. So if you know that, and you know you have stored the minimum difference in D, so minimum absolute diff. Okay, perfect. Now we need to process such that we will get the pairs, which is the absolute difference between them is equal to this D. Okay, so let's take an for loop, and I'll start from 0 and I'll go till n minus 2, and I'll just compare get the difference. So difference D is equal to absolute of array of I minus array of I plus 1. Okay, so I will get the absolute difference, and if it is equal to this diff is equal to D, then I'll add that pair to my answer. So comes out to be either next logic. So I can directly return this answer at the end of function. Okay, I can just close this. So this is how you need to write the pseudo code for this. So this is a pseudo code. So if you understood well, let's try to code this up with the same approach that we are going. So this is a function they have given, and you need to return list of list integer, which is 2D list. Let's define that. Answer is equal to, okay, perfect. So I need to sort the first step. Array. Perfect. I sorted the array, and now I need to find the minimum absolute difference in this. So for that purpose, I'll declare a difference, minimum absolute difference to integer dot max underscore value, and I'll just start from 0 and till array dot len minus 1 I plus plus. Okay, now I just get the difference is equal to at the dot in of d comma the absolute of array of I minus array of I plus 1. Okay, so I know what is the minimum absolute difference in this array. So I need to process such that I can get the pairs out of it. So let's try to take one more same loop. I is equal to 0, I is less than r and r len minus 1 I plus plus. Okay, perfect. Now I need to find the difference. So interdiff is equal to method at absolute of array of I minus array of I plus 1. Now if this difference is equal to my d, then I need to add these two guys to my answer. Okay, I'll take list L equal to new array list. Now I'll just add these two guys. So I need to add first I and then I plus 1. Okay, now 5 plus L dot add up. So to that I need to uh, add this list to my answer. Okay, so that add up L. So after that, yes, that's it. I can just return my answer so that it will be working fine. Let's try to run this. Should work. So it is giving correct. Next, try to submit. So it has given correct answer. So this is how you need to approach this problem. And if we can analyze time complexity, so time complexity will be, so we are using, first we are sorting. Okay, so for that we need n log n time plus, now we are processing two times separate arrays. Okay, so for that purpose it will be 1 n plus n. So overall it will come out to be big of n log n. That's it. So this is the time complexity, and the space complexity will be, so what else we are using? We are using a 2D list. So at max, this 2D list can be uh, n into 2. So we are just storing two times, right? So this space complexity will also be big of n. So this is time and this is space. So if you understand well, please consider us to giving us like, share, subscribe. Okay, thank you.